Hello and welcome to Art for Maths Books. I'm Luke. Did you know that the swift spends most of its life flying? Well, today we're going to draw one. We're going to take simple grids from maths books and fill them with artwork. Now, this series is created even for people that say they can't draw. And in each episode, we're going to have a guest. Now, today we've got Jack Baddams, who, as far as I'm concerned, knows everything about birds. And while we're drawing the swift, we're going to be asking Jack a few questions so that we can learn some really interesting facts about them and some stories from him as well. So let's get to it. Let's grab yourself a piece of grid paper, a pen, a pencil, maybe a ruler, and let's get drawing. So as you can see, I've got my maths book here, and what I want to do is start just above halfway down the page. Don't have to be precise. A lot of this you'll see that it's not an exact science, but I want to start fairly far over to the right of the page and just start with a dot on one of those grids. So I'm starting sort of 1 or 2 squares in, and I'm going to count 4 squares to the left and just do another dot. And now a bit of a diagonal, so 1 up and 1 across, and then go 1 across again. Now what we're going to do is we're going to join these up, so 1 big straight line, then 1 up, then across, and we're going to join this shape up. And we're starting off here with the head and the beak. Now from this square, just come down 1 diagonally so that we're making sort of a triangle within the shape, and then count 1 in from the end of the beak, the point on the right, and go up 1, then up and left 1. And we want to count across 3 and do a dot there. Then from there we want to count up 2 and right 2. Now it might not all make sense at the moment, then go 1 further up, and now count 4 across and 4 up. Now while we join these dots together, I'd just like to introduce Jack and ask him to tell you a bit about himself. So hi Jack, thanks very much for joining us. Why don't you tell everyone a bit about you and what you do?
I am more or less all things bird, so I have a few different hats, but I work on the BBC nature television show Springwatch as their wildlife researcher, and I have done that for a few years, so it's my job to find some of the species and stories and locations that we go to with the program. But then I am also very active on social media, where I post about the bird ringing that I do, which is the catching and tagging of wild birds so that we can understand where they go, how long they live, all sorts of stuff. And I do that in my spare time as a British Trust for Ornithology licensed bird ringer. So they're the 2 main things I'd say that I'm sort of known for.
That's really cool. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm going to ask you a few questions if that's okay while we go along. Now just to pick up the tutorial again, what we're going to do is from this corner we're going to go down diagonally 1, and we're going to go up from there 1, and then up 2 and right 2, then we're going to put a little dot on the line here, so it's up 3 and left 1, and then we're going to join these together. So Jack, what's your earliest memory of a bird?
This is where I'm going to have to tell you like the family legend. So the family legend in my family is that my first word was bird. I don't actually know whether that's true or not, but I do know that by the time I was 3 or 4, I could identify most of the birds in the garden because there's a little video of me doing it. So my answer to this question is that I don't remember a time where I wasn't into birds. Like there was never any sort of lightning rod moment, but I do have very vivid memories of looking at the birds in the garden. I remember the first time I learnt what a dunnock sounded like, and I thought, what's that really, really beautiful sound? That sounds amazing. And then I looked up and I thought, oh, it's a dunnock. How is a little scruffy dunnock making that noise? And that's really burned into my mind, and I've never forgotten what dunnocks sound like. I remember going out and filling up the bird feeders. I remember when a siskin came into the garden, and it was so exciting because I had no idea what it was, and I had to check my books. So I don't remember a specific early memory, but I have lots of very vivid memories of connecting with the birds immediately outside my window from a very early age.
Oh, very cool. A man of birds from the beginning. So to pick back up on this, we're going to come down from this corner here and go down one, then down and right one. From there we go one further down. We go down two and left one. And here we go, we need to do a diagonal line to join to the start of the beak there. To start to see this taking shape now. We're going to join these dots up like this. There we go. Now from here we're going to go left one, draw and connect that up. And we're going to go up one and down one diagonally. So we're going to sort of have two squares apart. And then we're going to go down two. And then from that bottom one we're going to go across, we're going to go left one and up two. From that one we're going to go 5 left. You can see how we're going to connect all of this together now. So why are swifts so special for you, Jack?
I've got early memories of swifts. So swifts are my favourite birds. They didn't always used to be my favourite bird. So I love bright colours, and the swift immediately, it's not a very brightly coloured bird. So when I was a kid, my favourite bird was the golden pheasant, which is this incredible paint by numbers bird that's native to Asia. But then as I grow older, and maybe my taste matured a little bit, I started really loving swifts, and I'd always noticed them because I was incredibly lucky to live on a street where the swifts nested in quite big numbers. So they would nest in the eaves of houses, in cracks in the walls and under the roof tiles. And during the summer, they arrive in May, leave in August, start of August. That period would be soundtracked by the screaming of swifts. So I have memories of laying on the trampoline in the back garden and watching the swifts tearing around overhead. And then as I grew up and I learnt more about them and what extraordinary animals, birds they were, I just fell for them even more. So my earliest memories are probably laying on the trampoline, laying on the grass in the back garden, and hearing and watching them when they fly low at rooftop height, tearing through the streets. That really evocative screaming sound that they make when they're in their screaming parties, weaving between the rooftops. They remind me of childhood summers. Laying on my back, looking up at the sky.
Oh, that's ace. Thank you for that. Back to the tutorial. So from this point we're going to go across left one and then another one, then up one, then left one, then up one. So we've created a sort of a zigzag here. And now we'll join these up like this. So let's do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nice and easy, that bit. We're going to have a diagonal line just to block that one in there as well. So from this point, I'd like you to count right 1 and up 2. And we're going to make another block here. So from the very end to that new point you've connected, and then connect to that sort of offshoot 3 blocks to the right. So from this corner of the zigzag, the bottom corner of the zigzag, we're going to go down 1 and across 5. And place a dot there. And then what we're going to have is a slight diagonal line like this. Then we're going to connect the dot that we've just made up to the end of the diagonal line we've just made. And from the bottom of that block, we'll go down 1 and down 1 and left 1. And then we're going to go down 3 and left 3. So let's connect these new dots up. 1, 2, 3. Got one line to finish that section off. Now you notice that I'm moving nice and slowly. It's just so that you don't have to keep pausing the video to keep up. From this corner of the zigzag, we're going to go down 2 and left 2 and place a dot. And from this corner, we're going to do the same. So down 2 and left 2. Down 2 and left 5. Now we're going to join these up, so time for another question for Jack. Okay, so Jack, if you could travel anywhere in the world right now to see some wildlife, where would you go?
Now, I'm very lucky that I've been able to travel to quite a few places around the world. I used to work on scientific expeditions to remote and unexplored parts of the world, so that was incredible. I would say sub-Saharan Africa has always held a very special place in my heart, the Serengeti and that sort of thing. But actually, as I've got older, I've sort of realised more and more that British wildlife is my thing. And like I say, I've been very lucky to go around the world, but there's a lot that is to be appreciated that's literally right outside your window, right outside your door for you to go out. So I think these days I'd probably take a May morning walking around Sherwood Forest, perhaps at dawn, looking for the lesser spotted woodpeckers and the redstarts, or maybe up in the Peak District on the high hills up there.
Yeah, you know what? There's so much amazing wildlife around, but I have to admit, Costa Rica is on my bucket list, so maybe one day. But if you're listening, let me know where you've been that you've seen some cool wildlife, or what's on your bucket list. Anyway, back to the tutorial. So from here, we're going to move to the left. So we're going to go diagonally up 1, and then we're going to go back on ourselves 1 square. Then we're going to move to the right 3, then up 3, and then to the right 1. And then we're going to move back across 5. And we're going to cut these up like this. One thing I'd just like to mention here is it's absolutely fine to go wrong on this. Don't stress about it. Most of art, 99% of art, is making mistakes. You can see that my lines aren't perfectly straight, there's dots poking out, but it's absolutely fine. It's just about being a bit creative. And really it's like any muscle in your body. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets, and the more you enjoy it, and the more you crave it. So really it's just about, if you're not feeling particularly creative, forcing yourself in the beginning, and you do it more and more, and it becomes easier and easier, and you'll really enjoy it then. Now with this newly created shape, we're going to create some horizontal lines. It just helps you to fill some of the space in so you can actually see the shape of it. So just as I'm doing here, just 2 simple horizontal lines, and we're going to actually add one more. So from that point, go left 1 and up 1, and then across 1, 2, 3. Now it's just a simple case of filling this block in as well. Again, I'm consciously taking some time with this to allow you to have a look at the screen, look at your paper, take your time and enjoy it. So I hope you're enjoying the pace and the fact that you don't have to keep pausing this, but you can keep up. From this corner, I'd like you to count 2 left and then 3 squares up and put a point. Now using this point, we're going to create a bit of an arrow from this corner and then 1 square in, like so. Another shape to fill in here from this sort of diagonal corner right up to the straying point off the end there. I'm just going to move my paper slightly because we are going to move on to the wing now. So this is going to come quite far out, so we do need a bit of space, so that should be a bit better now. From this point here, I'd like you to count 4 squares along and then 3 squares up. And from that point, count 4 squares along and then 2 squares up. And then 4 squares along and then 1 square up. Now you may notice that the last dot that you just created is diagonal to the arrow that you created earlier, so we're going to connect the dots just like this. Now this seems like quite a good time to ask Jack another question. Jack, how do you tell the difference between a swift, a swallow and a house martin?
Good question. So you've got, in the UK we have swifts, swallows, house martins, and then sand martins as well, and they can all look quite similar. But the key thing for the swift is it's really long wings. It's really long. They always say sickle-shaped wings, like the thing that you used to harvest crops and things like that. So a big, long sickle blade. So the swifts have got really, really curved wings. You'll generally see them quite high up, whereas swallows, you'll watch them, you can see them flying low over the crops or over the grass or around the feet of cows as they're looking for food. Swallows have also got the long pointy tails, and they'll be sitting up on wires and twittering away. Swifts, you'll never see them sat down, as we've said. You'll generally see them quite high up. House martins, they're very nice black and white colour, very smart. And they're the ones that make the nests under the eaves of houses out of mud. So they make the big mud nests. And then a sand martin is very similar to a house martin in size. It's smaller, more compact than your swift. And that's more of a brown colour than the black and white of the house martin. And they nest in burrows in sandbanks and things like that. Swallows, they nest in barns. They make another little mud nest. But the swift generally stays, I would say, always, you're most likely to see it always above the height of a roof. So it's always going to be roof height or higher, generally quite often really high, and listen out for that screaming sound. But they are pretty much brown all over. They've got a little white throat, but the key thing you're looking out for is that shape, because although swallows and house martins do have quite pointy wings, nothing is that big sickle shaped presence of a swift. And they're bigger. They are quite big birds actually compared to swallows and house martins, which are a bit more daintier. But it's the shape. You want to look for that shape in the sky.
Yep, there's some great tips in there. Nice one, Jack. Okay, so we're getting through this now. We're going to do it a little bit more filling in, this time diagonally in this section here. Take your time with it. Remember, it doesn't need to be perfect. Okay, so we're going to jump down to the bottom of the illustration here, and from this small point here, I'd like you to just count 1 square along and place a point. And then we're going to make another block section here. And then from this new point that you created, you're going to count down 1 and left 1. Okay, and then from this point, we're going to count down 2 and then across 5. Again, we're on a wing, so I'm going to need to move my paper so we can get the end in. Now from there, we're going to count down 2 and across 5 again, and I'll just move it a little bit more. Now count across 3, and then we're going to count across 4 and then up 2. So Jack, whereabouts in the world can you find swifts?
So we can see swifts in lots of places, lots of species around the world. So if you just want to see a type of swift, they are all over the world. Many parts of the world have got swifts, but for me, it's the swift that we have here in the UK, the common swift. And the great thing about them, the really nice thing about them, is that they live alongside us. They literally live in our houses. So you don't have to go out to a nature reserve to find them. You don't have to go out to a forest. You can be in a city and you can see swifts. So if you're in the UK, most towns, most villages, most cities have parts in them where there are swifts breeding. You have to be between May and August to look for them. And then if you go down if you're on holiday in the Mediterranean, or some amazing towns and cities in Spain and Croatia and places like that have extraordinary numbers of swifts. Rome has got loads of swifts in it. So they're in some of our busiest cities in the world. So the fantastic thing about swifts is that where can you see them? Basically where people are. So you don't have to go out of your way to find the best bird in the world.
Thank you. I love that ending. Okay, so we're going to move from this point here, 3 left and then 1 up. Then we're going to go 2 left and 1 up. And then from there we're going to come back on ourselves and go 2 right and then 1 up. And this is the start of the tail. Hopefully nice and simple. It's going to be filled in like this. So from the first point we created down to here. And there to there, and we've created another block like this. Now from the newly created top of the tail, we're going to count 4 left and then 1 up, and then we're going to count 7 left and then 1 up, creating that famous tail. And then we're going to go 3 down and then 7 right. 5, 6, 7. And now we're going to go 3 down and then 7 across. 7 left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So Jack, I've got a question for you. It might be a silly one. Why is a swift called a swift?
Well, I can only assume it's because they're really, really fast. So swifts are, in level flight, the family of birds that the swifts belong to. I believe the actual species is the white-throated needletail that is the fastest bird in level flight. So the swifts and their family hold the record of the fastest birds in level flight. So you may have heard the peregrine falcon is the fastest animal on the planet when it folds its wings up and drops out of the sky at over 200 miles an hour. But in level flight, it can be outrun by a pigeon. But swifts, and I think the white-throated needletail can go close to 100 miles an hour in level flight, but they're incredibly fast. So the swift is an extraordinary speedster, and when they do these screaming parties where they all band together and they fly at the height of the rooftops, chasing each other, screaming as they go, they're really, really rapid. They can do tight turns, they hunt for all of their food on the wing, so they've got to be very agile. So they are built for speed. So I can only assume that the swift is called a swift because it's very swift.
Yeah, I thought that was the case, but I had to ask the question. The thing is though, Jack, I love it because you've thrown in so many facts there. I didn't know that a pigeon could outrun a peregrine falcon level flight, so there's so much in there, and thank you, and I'm sure people are enjoying this. Now we're going to move on to one of the finishing touches, and I tend to leave this until the end as a little reward for myself. It's the eye. So in that triangle that we created way back at the start, we're just going to draw a small circle. Now I'm just going to move the camera in so it's easier for you to see, and you'll see that it's not at all perfect. I haven't even got the lines touching, but it's fine. So in the top right hand corner, I then just draw a small blob basically, which is going to be a catchlight, and I won't colour that part in, I'll colour the rest in, and sometimes I do one in the bottom left as well, entirely up to you. Now in terms of the shape, that's it for the swift. You should be really pleased with what you've got there. And there's loads of different ways you can fill this in. You don't have to do what I'm going to do. I'm going to fill this in doodles, basically. So in each individual shape that we've created here, and in each square of the grid, I'm going to create a random pattern to create a doodle Swift, for lack of a better name for it at the moment. And we've got an opportunity now to ask Jack a few questions. I'm going to leave my video on. I'm going to speed it up a bit so that you can kind of get an idea of what I'm going to do. You can use colouring pencils, you can use highlighters, you can use paint, whatever you like. Be free with it, enjoy it, and really I'd love to see what you create at the end of this. Now, let's just ask Jack a couple more questions because there's so much knowledge in that brain of his. So let's see what else we can get. I'm going to link back to something that I said right at the start. Jack, is it true that swifts spend most of their lives in the air?
It is. Swifts are extraordinary birds. So if you think of most birds, then you'll think you see them sat down quite a lot. You see the pigeon sat on the rooftop. You see the birds on your bird feeders. You see the blackbird hopping around the lawn. But swifts will never touch the ground in their entire life. They're not supposed to touch the ground. They're not built for touching the ground. Their scientific name, Apus apus, actually means no feet, because when they were named years ago, people thought that they didn't have any feet because you would only ever see them flying. So they are built for life on the wing. Their feet are there, but they're very, very tiny. They've got very short, stumpy legs. And if a swift lands on the ground, then it actually can't jump to take off. So it can't get airborne again. So they do pretty much everything while they're flying, but they do need to land to make their nests and to breed and to lay eggs and to raise their chicks. But they don't do that on the ground. They do that in cracks in buildings. They can do it in cliffs. They'll do it in old woodpecker holes. And then they'll fly and they'll grip vertically onto the side of the tree, or most commonly buildings. And then they'll shuffle into the crack and then they'll lay their eggs and they'll incubate their eggs, and then they go back and forth feeding the chicks. But they're able to get airborne then because they drop out of a hole and they can open their big sickle-shaped wings and get the wind beneath their wings and take off. So that's how they're able to land in those circumstances. But if they land on a flat surface on the floor, they're not able to. Now, that means that they are evolved to do everything in the sky other than lay their egg and lay their eggs and have their nest. So they eat while they're flying. Okay, that's pretty cool. Swallows do that. House martins do that. They catch insects on the wing. They drink while they're flying. Swallows and house martins and things can do that as well. You fly really low to the water, open your beak. They've got big, wide open mouths, and they'll scoop up water on the wing. They can bathe while they're flying, so they fly low over the water. They throw their wings up into a V, and then they dunk their body in the water, and then they carry on flying and give themselves a good shake. The two extraordinary things that swifts can do while they're flying, which not many, if any other birds can, is they mate while they're flying. So they're able to position themselves above each other and very, very quickly have and mate in the sky. And then the other thing that they do is they sleep while they're flying. So birds are able to do this thing where they send half of their brain to sleep. And you can see this if you go down to your local duck pond and look at the ducks asleep around the edge of a pond. You'll notice when they've tucked their beak under their feathers that they'll have one eye open and one eye closed. And normally the eye that is closed is the one that's facing the pond, and the eye that is open is the one that's facing the land, because that's where the danger might come from. And what they've actually done is sent half of their brain to sleep, but are keeping one eye open to look out for danger. So that's what swifts do. They'll fly really, really high up, and they can send one half of their brain to sleep, and then they spiral down in big circles, and when they get too close to the ground, then they fly back up, and then they spiral round in big circles. So this is a bird that has completely cut ties with the ground. To me, it is the epitome of what it means to be a bird. It is bird 2.0. The next stage of being a bird is the swift. So they pretty much, apart from make that nest, lay those eggs, do everything in the sky.
Yeah, well, just give them another couple of 100,000 years.
They'll have a little pouch or something that they can fly around with that egg.
Yeah, that's right. What about nests? What do they make their nest from?
So swifts make their nests. They're not particularly intricate nests. They basically catch whatever they can while they're flying. So they'll pick up feathers, bits of grass, things like that are on the air currents, and then they'll take them back and they'll make a very loosely structured pile of feathers, grass, tree seeds, things like that, anything that's fluffy and downy, and they'll make those nests in. Generally these days, it's cracks in walls, it's under roof tiles. Like I say, historically, it's been woodpecker holes in trees. There's only one place in the UK where you can still see swifts nesting in old woodpecker holes, and then in sea cliffs as well. But in general now, the vast majority of swifts nest in our buildings.
Yeah, and I'd love to see more properties with swift blocks in, making it easier for swift, especially all of these new builds going up. How good would it be if all the big development companies committed to providing a certain amount of swift blocks for every new build that they build? It would be amazing for the wildlife, and I know there's a petition going around. I've signed it to kind of get it discussed, to make it law, I think. But it'd be brilliant. Another question I've got for you, for anybody that doesn't know, what is migration in the world of birds?
Migration. So that is when animals move from one area to another. And in general, that's because they're following where the food is. So in the case of the swift, in the case of most of our birds that migrate, that leave the UK in the autumn, they are going because the food is going. And the food that they're after, or the food that they need, is insects. And when we go into the winter and it gets cold, all the flying insects, all of those sorts of food sources disappear. So the birds have to follow them. So they head south and then they go down into Africa, which is always a lot warmer, where there's lots of insects, and some of them go all the way down to South Africa, which is just coming into its spring as we are leaving our summer. So they go down there and all the insects are emerging, and then they're able to eat lots and lots of food. But migration is when animals move from one place to another for some reason, and it's normally always about food.
It's amazing, isn't it, how far these birds fly, such tiny things, and it's sort of not effortless, but a lot easier than we could do it. Have you ever helped a swift in trouble?
I have never rescued a swift, but I do know some fantastic people that do rescue swifts. And if you ever find a swift on the ground, then you should get in touch with a swift rehab centre. So it's something that you can easily Google, and you can find people who specialise in taking care of swifts, because they're very special, very unique birds, and you can't just feed it seeds and try and look after it. It needs to be looked after by somebody who really knows what they're doing. So the thing that I do to try and help the swifts is I put nest boxes up on my house so that the swifts can come and nest in it. But I've never found or had to rescue a swift. But if I did, I know exactly the person that I'd take it to in Sheffield, and she's brilliant at raising swifts and getting them back into the sky when they're injured or if they've fallen out of nests.
Yeah, so get help from professionals, I'd say. Now, throughout this, Jack, you've been brilliant. You've given us so many facts about swifts, more than I was anticipating, which is brilliant. I'm going to challenge you now and see if you could put another one out of the bag for us. Can you tell us another fact about swifts?
I think the other thing about swifts is we've said, I'll give you my favourite. Is it my favourite swift fact? I'm not sure, but it's one of the swift facts that's up there. So obviously they are built for flying, but they can cover huge distances. So a swift that is nesting in the city of Glasgow in Scotland can easily go and forage for its food over in Northern Ireland for the day, and then come back to feed its chicks. We know that on migration, when they're heading south, they can go from sort of Edinburgh to Paris in a day. They can cover like 500 miles in a day. And in their lifetime, they will cover the same distance as to the moon and back 6 times in their lifetime. So they will have travelled the same distance as to the moon and back 6 times in the lifetime of a swift. And the average lifespan of a swift is about 8 or 9 years. So they are constantly constantly moving. But to them, it's no effort. To them, they can glide. They are built for this lifestyle. They're not tired up there, constantly flapping. They're just able to hold their wings out to the side and glide around. But they are, birds that have got stats that just blow your mind. They are very cool animals.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and you did not disappoint with your facts. And I wonder how many 8 or 9 year olds are listening to this now and trying to figure out whether they have travelled the equivalent of to the moon and back 6 times. That's absolutely amazing. What I'd just like to do is ask you a couple of silly questions now, Jack. The first one is, if this Swift, or actually if any Swift, was to go into a human cafe, what would it order?
Well, I mean, they eat insects, so I don't think anything particularly on the menu is going to appeal to a Swift to eat, I think. But what they're going to have, whatever they have, it's going to be to go, because they're not hanging around. So they're going to have it to take away, and I think based on their high energy, they're going to want something coffee. They're going to want coffee, something that gets them a bit buzzing. Maybe they want a Coke, something with sugar in it to keep them going. But whatever they do order, they're not going to sit down at the table and sip it slowly. They're going to take it to go so that they can constantly keep flying while they're drinking it.
All right, so we've got a coffee-fueled Swift. What about a job? What job would a Swift do?
I think a Swift, if it was going to do a job, based on the distance that they travel and how easily they fly, I think it'd have to be some sort of pilot. It'd have to be or maybe even like a jet fighter pilot or something like that, because they can fly incredibly fast. They can do incredibly tight turns. They can cover huge distances. They don't really want to be on the ground ever, which, if I've ever spoken to pilots, I think they'd be quite happy if they could just stay in the sky the whole time. So I think maybe for me, a Swift is going to be, or maybe like the Red Arrows, when they're doing their screaming parties through the streets. They're a bit like a display team at an air show. So maybe some sort of, Red Arrows jet pilot.
Another brilliant answer just off the cuff. Thank you so much, Jack. So we are coming towards the end of this tutorial now, and hopefully you've enjoyed doing it. Hopefully you're still enjoying colouring it in, whether you're using block colours or whether you're using doodles like I am, whether you're using colours all black and white, or whether you're painting, whatever you're doing. The main thing is that you are enjoying it and you are flexing that creative muscle, because it is a muscle, and the more that you do it, you will get better and you will enjoy it more and you will be more creative, and the world needs creative people. So if you have enjoyed it, well, first of all, share with me what you've done. I'd love to see what you've created, so send it in. You can use social media at Luke Western Art, email luke at lukewesternart.com. You can use the hashtag art4mathsbooks, and let's just see what's created from this one video and how many different creative styles are applied to this one outline that we've created on a maths book. How cool would it be if we could get a load of different ones and put them all together? And I'll be sharing them as I see them, and if you'd like me to, sort of tag in who's done them, that kind of thing. Couple of things that you can do for me to help me out, because I'm an independent artist. I'm doing this because I love it and I want more conversations about birds. First of all, subscribe to the channel, massively helps. Drop some comments on, let me know what's worked for you. How's the pace been? I have purposely done it slow because I get frustrated with art tutorials on YouTube where the kids have to keep pausing it. So I've purposely done this slow and left some breathing room. Got Jack in, and a massive thank you to Jack, who's come on in his own time and done this just because he wanted to. So can't thank him enough from that. And if you want to follow him, it's Jack Baddams, Baddams on Instagram. Brilliant content about birds. But yeah, subscribe to the channel. Let me know what's worked for you. Let me know what birds you'd like to see designed as well, because this is going to grow with community. Let me know if there's any extra comments, like would you like more curves, whatever it is. Drop a comment and let me know. Share it with friends and family. Anything you can do to help spread this will be massively appreciated from me or by me, and will enable me to keep making these for you, so that hopefully you can carry on enjoying them. Let us know what your favourite fact from the episode was. There was so many facts within it. It was jam-packed with information. Or do you have any facts that you can share? Drop them in the comments. And what about if we just create one massive knowledge base of bird information for people? How cool would that be? Now, on the next episode, we are going to be drawing a house sparrow, and I love house sparrows. I love their chirping. They were the sound of my childhood. So to be able to draw one with you is going to be brilliant. We're going to be using colouring pencils. Well, I'm going to be. You can do whatever you like. And joining us as a guest on that episode is a man called John, who is otherwise known as the early birder, and he knows a lot about birds. He's got some amazing facts that he's going to share with you. So you're going to really enjoy it. So join me. So make sure you subscribe. Join me for the next one. But for now, Jack, there's one last thing for you. Would you like to name this bird?
There is only one name, really, that comes to mind when you say swift. It's got to be Taylor.
Yeah, it's got to be, hasn't it? We spelling it the same way?
Yeah, the same way. Taylor.
There we go. Okay, Taylor the Swift, named by Jack Baddams, created by you. Well done. Really hope you have enjoyed this. Again, please subscribe, share this with your mates. Let's get talking about it. Let's get everybody drawing. Let's get a load of swifts drawn and others. Keep creating, and I will see you for the house sparrow episode.